I got this little thing. Well, I know what you all are thinking. This is what a Friday afternoon looks like at work. Because I'm the only one that's here on Friday afternoons usually.
Hey.
None of you are. But this is what it looks like. It's not so bad, is it? It's part of the thing today about engagement. First part of this little slide presentation is on chapter 1. I'm assuming everybody's read chapter 1, so I'm going to whip through it, although I do have some additional information there that I found on transformational stuff. But we'll go ahead and get started. In chapter 1, what does student engagement mean? Student engagement is a process and a product that is experienced on a continuum and results from the synergistic interaction between motivation and active learning. Motivation and active learning. We're going to talk a lot about motivation in just a minute. But the thing that gets me is about the continuum. In other words, it's constantly going on. The book talks about pedagogies of engagement. There's a need, and they say in there's a need for new pedagogies of engagement that will turn out resourceful, engaged workers and citizens that are needed in society. And really that goes back to what? What are we basing our state code on, and go deeper than that? That's pretty deep. Student learning. But what I'm trying to get you to focus on are the 21st century learning skills. It's what it's all about. You know, can you problem solve? Can you be creative in solving those problems? Can you collaborate with other people to get this done? And then can you communicate it in a coherent way that helps other people to understand it? That's what people are looking for out there. Of course, content is important. They know what to do, but at the same time, it's those skills that are important. Students know about chemistry by reading and listening to lectures, but to really understand chemistry, students need to engage in the task that chemists perform. Problem-based learning, collaborative learning, that sort of thing. And that's been our motto here at JSU for a very long time now. It's all about student learning, and you learn by doing. That's why when I was over in kinesiology, formerly HPER, you know, and we hired Roland Thornburg in here as our pedagogy person, and I told Roland, I said, I want those kids in the school early and often. And so they started getting them in their 200 block, which they weren't even PE students yet, but they were already out in the schools learning and seeing. By the time they got to their internship, it was no big deal to be out there and to be around those children. And the same thing in other programs now. I mean, all of you are getting your people out there in that first semester that they're in the college or admitted to the college, and that's important. Is the experiences. Well, let me go back. The words that describe student engagement are passion and excitement. How many of you see any of your kids in your classes passionate about what they're learning and excited about it? Do you? What percentage do you say are that way? 90%? 35% yours? Why is that?
Because they have to learn how to manipulate the equipment. It's not about the capacity.
Are you saying they don't want to learn how to run the equipment?
No, they
That's the one that they're engaged in. But when it's a lecture-based class, they tune out.
Unless you are funny and exceedingly entertaining, or unless you contact with other.
I like that. What are some other thoughts on that? I want this to be a totally reflective session, because all this stuff you know. Patrick.
I think often there's a need for basic knowledge. There are things that they simply must know, facts that are necessary, that are base facts upon which creativity will come. So there is, I think, some purpose for some lecture where we just have to let them know some facts, technological or otherwise,
Anybody else got a thought on that? Passion and excitement. Tell you and I've mentioned this story before. My first collegiate appointment is the University of South Carolina at Aiken. My first exercise physiology class, they spoiled me rotten as a professor because they were so into the content and figuring out problems-based kind of stuff up there that I literally had two guys in the back that argued over a concept of exercise physiology, stand up, face off, and are about to swap blows. On exercise physiology, are you kidding me? But that next semester, I had the deadest bunch of people in that class. I mean, I couldn't even get them to hardly hold their head up, much less argue about something, about one of the concepts there. That first bunch was passionate. Student engagement is the product of motivation and active learning. It is a product rather than a sum because it will not occur if either element is missing. Motivation and active learning. And what we mean by active learning is just what Patrick said. You go beyond just the content part of it. I know we got to get that out there. But having something active where they can learn, then they'll learn it more or better. Combining motivation and active learning promotes engagement, yet some are pushing for more from students. They want students to be truly transformed by their educational experience. That's getting pretty deep, and this is where I deviate a little bit from our textbook. And I found this information that Jack Mesereau, who is proposed to be the father of transformational learning, and you can see his work was published in 81, 94, and 97 on this subject. But in his case, transformational learning is defined as learning that induces more far-reaching change than other kinds of learning, especially learning experiences which shape the learner and produce a significant impact or paradigm shift that affects the learner's subsequent experiences. What does that say to you? Particularly the part about far-reaching change.
It's more than just for the moment to learn it in class.
Okay.
It goes beyond the classroom to the environment and community.
I like that.
Community or social change.
That's exactly the way I see it. It goes beyond just the classroom, but it really becomes a part of their life. Now, how many kids do we have like that? I think we have some. But I wonder just how many of our students in education are so into teaching that when they take and they learn something in a concept, they're thinking about it not continuously, but it's on their mind when they're thinking about what they're doing for the rest of their lives, career-wise.
Yeah, when it talks about subsequent experiences, it's almost like a type of professional behavior modification. I think where whatever it was that you were doing, what you have learned, what has transformed you, changes everything that comes after.
Right.
In whatever way that may look like, whatever that looks like, it's significantly different after that point.
So really, our goal should be this type of learning for career services, or to service our career, be it either applied engineering, communications, FCS, or teacher prep. They all should be striving to be that way. And you know, knowing this and being obviously much older than my children, I get very aggravated at them when I don't see them doing this kind of thing. You know, a test is a test. I need to pass this test to make at least a C in this course to get out of here. Some of these people know who I'm talking about. Get very angry at that, but why is that? Why do some people go down that road but other students don't?
A lot goes back to motivation. You know, we
know, the biggest fear, it's not really a fear, but it's something that I'm motivated not to get in a situation when I'm teaching a class and for a student to ask me something that I can't answer. That's my biggest fear. And have they done it for you? Yeah, they have. Believe me. Let me tell you something. When I was teaching 9th grade English in Mobile County, I had a little girl in there that was the smartest person I've ever known. I stayed in total fear that she was going to ask me a question that she really knew that I didn't. Stayed in constant fear. 2 years of hell in that classroom. Well, really just one with her in there. But everything turned out all right. She was a good kid. If you go online, I wish I put the website down on this, but you'll find this information, and it's broken down into ways to facilitate transformational learning, and they talk about the instructor characteristics and roles which facilitate this. One, they say encourage students to reflect on and share their feelings and thoughts in class. The problem there is what? In a typical college class or P12 class, what's the problem right there? Sharing your feelings. What else? Do we believe that all students can learn? I mean, we should, because they can. I mean, if you walked over and listened to Mike Goodrow speak at the autism conference, and Mike is very autistic, and he was the prognosis was that he would never be a contributing member of society. You should have heard that guy's speech. I mean, his speech had far-reaching impact on kids who had just given up, that might be normal kids, but just have given up. I wish we had that thing recorded, because I'd like to show it over and over and over again. But here's a kid that did not have the capabilities, was again diagnosed, and prognosis was, you know, he'll never be a functioning member of society. He graduated with a B average for the University of West Georgia. He is now completing the MBA in Atlanta. Now granted, his parents have to help him continuously, but this kid has just come so far. He was funny, he was entertaining, he was just great the other day. And if he can do it, I guarantee every other kid that hasn't been diagnosed with something like that, they're going to be there. But it takes all of us believing that every kid in our classrooms can learn. They may not learn as much as some else, but they can all learn. But the way I see encourage students to reflect on their feelings, this is an important part. I really believe this. But are you going to get 100% of your kids doing this? Who's going to usually do this? Those top tier kids. There's got to be a way that we as teachers pull those kids who, when you're looking around about to call on somebody and they all know it, those are the kids who look down at their stuff and they're writing, and they think if they're not looking at you, don't see them. But we got to get everybody engaged. Everybody engaged. Be holistically oriented, aware of body, mind, spirit, and the learning process. To me, this says that we've got to learn kids intimately. We got to know something about them. So, and that's going to come back to an engagement thing a little bit later on, is because every time I've been in a class and I've developed a relationship with kids, they typically perform better because of that relationship, because they want to make me proud of them, because they know I care about them, so they want to, and so they work harder. And then some more things there, become more, let's see, cultivate awareness. There's one more on there. The thing about the mentor, you know, that's important, that we become mentors of the kids in our classes. Now, most of us in here teach just upper level courses and graduate courses. So people are majoring in the courses that we're taking. And so being a mentor ought to be just second nature to all of us. Help students question reality in ways that promote shift in their worldview. Then they go into student characteristics and roles, which facilitate transformational learning. And Tommy, we're going to put this up somewhere so people can get into it. No. We'll put it on the web, and you can all get to the PowerPoint on this thing, so you don't need to write any of this stuff down. But you can just look through there. Students have to be willing to do stuff. Students must be able, have sufficient maturity to deal with paradigm shifts and materials which differ from their current beliefs. Course content, instructional activities, and environments to facilitate transformational learning. Good stuff here. Critical reflection, rational discourse. You know, you're going to have those arguments. That's good. Arguments are good. Just don't let them square off. Now this is getting a little far out here. Mind exploration, dreams, out of body, near-death experiences, meditation. Now I'll go for meditation. An altered state of consciousness, hypnosis. This is what the author wrote. I didn't give these examples. Just goes to show you got to take everything you read with a grain of salt. This is just some more of the course content, instructional activities. Dance and movement, I like that one. Breath work, breathing work. Touch, got to watch out for that one. What'd you say? Professional challenges and ethical consideration for instructors. Confidentiality, sexual attraction. That happens on the college level. You know, we've seen over and over where professors and students have developed a relationship, and of course at JSU, you know, as long as you're not that student's faculty member, or you don't have any impact on their success here, then, you know, based on that, you can do whatever you want. I wouldn't suggest you do that, and I'm not promoting that. Because we're being very open and honest here. Inappropriate touch. Transformative learning occurs when students are challenged intensely, creating the kind of growth as described by Perry. We don't have a date on that. He observed that most freshmen enter college as dualists.
I've never heard that before or read that. I wasn't aware of Perry's model until I read that for a second. And it's like you always know the effect that a college education has, but I guess I didn't realize about the dualism and how that was.
Well, but it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
It really does. They believe it's just very, I don't know, rote kind of thing where it's clear objectives that they get in high school, and either there's a right or wrong answer. This is why we're having problems with people accepting Common Core. You know, you have all these parents that are our age, some younger, some maybe older, that went through the kind of education we did where it was just that way. And now that you've got it, they're teaching them to think outside the box, it freaks everybody out. And parents just don't understand. I got a text from my youngest, Adam, out in Texas yesterday. He said, "Are you for Common Core or not?" Now here's a guy that's in marketing, and I wrote back, I said, "Well, yeah, I think it's great." And then he sent me this exam that somebody had posted. I think there was an article in AL.com where this teacher, they were trying to get it to the different ways to get it to number 15. Did y'all see that article? And it was either 5 times 5 times 5 or 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And for some reason the teacher marked the 5 times 5 times 5 as wrong. And I haven't read the article. I'm just getting what I got from him. And Adam said he attributed this craziness in grading to Common Core. I said, Adam, Common Core is a process by which you learn. This kind of stuff is because of the teacher didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to grade it. We're still teaching teachers out there about Common Core. And there's a big shift in the way we have to go there. But that's the kind of memory and education people are used to. But when they get to college, even if they do go through that kind of thing, it's up to us to take them to that next level and realize that we can't stand up and lecture, give a test every 2 or 3 weeks, and expect them to really learn. It's not going to happen. We all know that. Eventually, students recognize, T needs to move slide over there, that there may be multiple answers to a question. Now here is some authors and the year that they were published that you can go to and read more about this kind of thing, get different perspectives on. Any questions about all that so far?
We got any idea why there's nothing in the last 15 years?
It's a good question. Maybe we ought to move in that direction.
I mean, it looks like it's all pretty steady.
They figured it out. 2001, they got engaged.
That's it. But the book that we're reading from now, the lady does refer back to these sort of things. It's all through the text if you read through it. It's a good observation there. All right, motivation. Motivation is something that we all deal with in a lot of different ways, depending on the environment that we're in. And so we're going to change environments for a second. So y'all go ahead and talk amongst yourselves while I change clothes. All that's coming off are the shoes, so don't worry. Let me tell you people something. I've sat around and watched you teach, and I'm going to tell you what, I ain't happy. It's not going to get it. We are not going to win that 9th ball game in this national championship run with you being the way you are. And I can go down the line on every one of you and tell you where you're screwing up. And if you plan to be here at JSU the next go around, you better change around. You better change your strategies. You better motivate these students or you're gone. I don't have time to put up with your mess. And I'm not. That includes department heads and associate deans. You're going to be out of here. I love that.
Don't we get to drop and give you 15? I mean,
That's coming.
cliches.
I need a whistle.
You're late. You've got 5 minutes to get out of the dorm or out of your office. See, you don't know what you get into when you get in here late, do you? I loved coaching. Because back in those days, whether it was college or high school or youth league, you could yell at those kids and it motivated them. Why did that motivate them and didn't motivate you? Because I'm sure if you thought I was serious, you'd be very upset. You'd be ready to call AEA or your lawyer or somebody. In a classroom, why can't we motivate kids by yelling at them? We just had a situation at an elementary school where certain people in the school were whacking kids on the hand as a motivational tool. Now, I don't know the outcome at that school, but I'd be willing to bet it didn't work. It's going to turn them into more violent people, because how they're treated is how they're going to treat somebody else. But why on a football team or basketball team or in the band does yelling and screaming work to motivate folks? But in a classroom and in a career environment, it's likely not to work. And I think it won't work. If I was like that every time, and let's say I didn't have the possibility of getting fired by our new president because I was a jerk, how would you enjoy your job? It'd be one of those things, well, here comes Hammett. I'm about to get chewed out for something. I don't know what I've done, but he'll think of something. So motivation for different sports, and by the way, I didn't really scream at my athletes when I coached them. I didn't believe in screaming, unless it was something good. You know, if they did something great, I was like a nut out there running around, patting them on the head and jerking them around for fun to motivate them even more. That was a great play you just did. You know, let's repeat that every time. Take on that tackle just like that every time and whip his tail and make the sack on the quarterback. Love that kind of stuff. But I always felt like that getting next to somebody, developing a relationship with somebody, especially somebody younger, was the greatest motivational tool that there ever was. What do I do with my clicker? Y'all don't mind, I'm going to stay dressed like this. It takes me back. Engagement and motivation. By definition, motivation is the theoretical construct to explain the reasons we engage in a particular behavior. Motivation to learn is an acquired competency developed through the individual's cumulative experiences with learning situations. What does that say to you? Y'all can't hear me after blowing that whistle, can't you? So is a kid motivated when they first come out to learn? I don't think so either.
What happens in the 7th, 8th grade, freshman, sophomore year of college, depends on what happened earlier.
Mm-hmm.
All the experience.
So if we promote them on to the next grade and they don't really think they're going to the next grade, we don't feel like that.
No, we don't. Social promotion doesn't get it. Because all we're trying to do is just run them through the mill and get them out. When they're 19, that's it. Behavioralists and need theorists depict motivation as a reaction to pressure, either from extrinsic rewards or internal needs, intrinsic. There we go. Goal theorists suggest students are motivated by performance goals, learning goals, and work avoidance goals. And I tell you down there what they believe. In the college classroom, instructors are trying to influence students to adopt learning goals as opposed to performance goals and work avoidance goals. Why? Performance goals. And we live with this a lot, especially in elementary, but in all the way through all these. I can understand why I didn't get all 4s on that rubric. I did everything that you told me to do, everything we learned in class, but I got a 3 on 2 of them. Work avoidance. Let's just hurry up and get this over with so we can go. Let's take the quickest way out. Let's don't reinvent the wheel. Let's just get out of here. But it's that learning goals that they actually learned information. You know, to me, we've got to get all of our kids to the point, or as many of them as possible, to the point where they're hungry for knowing the next thing. Okay, I learned this. What else should I know about this subject or content? Well, I know this machine will do this back in the shop, but what else will it do? They're just thirsty for more, and that's really should be, I feel, our objective. Expectancy versus value model. The effort that people are willing to expend on a task is the product of the degree to which they expect to be able to perform the task successfully, and the degree to which they value the rewards as well as the opportunities to engage in performing a task itself. That's value. So in this model, can I do what the instructor wants me to do? And what's the value that I'm getting out of this? To me, the value should come first. If a kid or a student sees something as value, then I think expectancy is less important to them. I want to learn this, whether I do it or don't, I see the value in it. People will not invest effort in tasks they do not enjoy and that do not lead to something they value. An expectancy student's belief in their ability to succeed at a learning task is more important than their actual skill level. If a student is confident in his or her ability to perform a task successfully, she or he will be motivated to engage in it. I wonder, and this is something that really scares me in a class, because if you have and I'm a firm believer, and you set the standards as high as you possibly can. I think too many times in P12, they set it somewhere in the middle so that those low-performing kids can hopefully make it to that point. The heck with those kids that are very smart and can learn that much more. So we set the goal there. The expectation should be high, but if you do make it high, the catch-22 is how many people are going to really engage in it if it's set too high? Somebody tell me how you balance that out, because I really don't know.
I think you have to be willing to accept the loss of some of the students. I think you have to accept these because everybody up to a certain level. Value. You have to make a choice. It's between getting everybody to understand something up to a certain level, or setting the bar higher so that folks aspire to and are willing to put out to and are creative and think to get to that level. I don't think there's enough.
So are you saying then, Jerry, that I'm going to set my standards here with the expectation that the majority in this class can reach this? Those who can't, I'll help them all I can, but maybe they're not meant to be in communications.
I think this is something we have to accept.
Does anybody disagree with that?
What about people who do instruction, having different types of learning engagement, keeping the needs of different kinds of learners? It might not be that they don't want to learn it, or that they're incapable of learning it, but maybe their learning style is different, and so some different differentiation and strategies would help with that.
Well, I agree with that 100%, that we as instructors have to find ways to help every kid in there learn. But what if there are those few, no matter what you do, that don't fit the bill? They don't make it. should we just say, I'm sorry, I've done all I can, and maybe you need to find something else to do for a career?
Part of what Jerry's saying, because we live in the professional world, there's certain professional expectations. If somebody can't write a news story, no matter what I say, that person's not going to get a job in a newspaper, radio station, TV station. I don't set that standard. That's out there. And if they can't meet it, I can't force it.
Okay.
At the same time, I like to think that I have a role to build them to some degree with passion they may not know they have for our field. And I try to do that. I'm still not going to get, as Mike and Jerry have said, everyone. But I might be able to pick up a few along the way that didn't know that communication was as interesting as it is. And I try to